Well, hello, Kindred Spirits. How are y'all doing today? I hope that every one of you are doing great, and I so appreciate you stopping back by to visit with me for just a little while. Now, today is June the 10th, Monday, June the 10th, and this is wedding week for our family. Our oldest son and his sweetheart are going to be married this coming Saturday, and so we're so excited for it. And she just texted me and said that her flowers are being shipped to my home from Columbia, and they'll be here on Wednesday. And so on Thursday night, we're going to have a bouquet making party with family and friends, and it's going to be so much fun. So our house is the staging area for all of the flower arranging. So I'm really excited about that. And June is a month for weddings, and most graduations have taken place. There are still some graduations that are happening, but it's just a sweet time in life. And so with that thought in mind of graduations and weddings, I've got something special that I want to tell y'all about today. And I'm going to read to you from this really neat vintage book that I think that you're going to enjoy. So let me show you. Let's see, I'll show you the book first, and then we'll read the story next. This book is called 1,000 Ways to Please a Husband with Bettina's Best Recipes. Don't be nasty. Now, this is such a fun little book. It was written in 1917, and I got this little book at an old used bookstore out in Mineral Wells, Texas. Goodness, way back in 2001. And I have always loved this sweet little book. Now, I'm going to read to you from it in just a minute. But what is neat about it is this is a promotional item. So it says right in here, it says this modern and popular book, which we trust you will find helpful in everyday use, is presented to you with the compliments of H.B. Graves Company, Incorporated, State Market and Mills Street. And it says Rochester's oldest and largest home furnishings establishment. So this is what they would do is they would give out this book as a promotional item, maybe for new brides who had put their, or brides to be, brides elect is how they used to call it, and they would put the notification in the newspaper that they were getting married. And so they would send these books to the homes of those brides. And since it was from a furniture store, they would hope that the new bride and her husband would come and buy their home furnishings from this store. So I've always loved that little aspect of the book, because something similar happened not when I got engaged, but when I graduated from high school. And so I graduated from Sevier County High School in Sevierville, Tennessee back in 1991. And the week before graduation, we were in our homeroom, and my teacher, Mr. Williams, had a box of things only for the girls. And so he handed each of us one of these little tiny cedar chests, not silver, tiny cedar chests. And it says Lane, presented by Carl Hatcher Furniture, Sevierville, Tennessee. And so I had already received a Lane cedar chest from my parents when I graduated high school. It was a big old cedar chest. And then this is a smaller jewelry size cedar chest, and it had a little key in it that I could lock it up. And I've just always stored treasures in it. There's just old pictures and old driver's license and things that my children have drawn for me. But my friend Robin, who was in homeroom with me, and I were so taken with that sweet gesture that after school that day, we drove down to Hatcher's Furniture, and we just wanted to thank them for giving us this neat little cedar chest, because they didn't have to do that. It was a gift for graduation, is what they said. But when we talked to the owners, they said that their intent was that later on when we got married, they hoped that we would come down to Hatcher's Furniture and buy the furniture for our homes. So I thought that that was just a sweet gesture. And then also it is in keeping with the reason that they gave out this little cookbook. So again, this cookbook is from 1917. It was originally written in 1917. And I'm going to read you the very first little story from it because it's very old fashioned, but it's sweet. And if I don't care how things have changed, I don't care. Things still are the same when it boils down to it. And when it boils down to just being in love and getting married and getting your first house together, you want to be able to do little things for your sweetheart and cook for each other, cook for him if you like to, and just do little things, because that's what it's all about, is just being together and just getting to know each other and starting that new life together. And it's just a sweet time in life. And so let me read to you this very first chapter here, and I'll show you some of the illustrations too. Okay, and this chapter says June, and it says, "No, you cannot live on kisses, though the honeymoon is sweet. Hearken, brides, a true word this is, even lovers have to eat." And this is chapter 1, and it says, "Home at last." And it says, "Home at last," sighed Bettina happily as the hot and dusty travelers left the train. "Why that contented sigh?" asked Bob. "Because our wedding trip is over? Well, anyhow, Bettina, it's after 5. Shall we have dinner at the hotel?" "Hotel? Why, Bob, with our house and dishes and our silver just waiting for us? I'm ashamed of you. We'll take our the first car for home, a streetcar, not a taxi. Our extravagant days are over, and the time has come to show you that Bettina knows how to keep house. You think that you love me now, Bobby, but just wait till you sit down to a real strawberry shortcake made by a real cook in a real home." Half an hour later, Bob was unlocking the door of the new brown bungalow. "Isn't it a dear?" cried Bettina proudly. "When we've had time to give it grass and shrubs and flowers and a vegetable garden, no place in town will equal it. And as for porch furniture, how I'd like to get at Mother's attic and transform some of her discarded things." "Just now, I'd rather get some of Mother's cooking," grinned Bob. "Oh dear, I forgot. I'll have supper ready in 10 minutes. Do you remember my emergency shelf? Why, Bob, they must have known we were coming. Here's ice and milk and cream and butter and bread and rolls and even grapefruit. They knew and didn't meet the train because they thought we would prefer to have our first meal alone. Wasn't that dear of them? And this will save you a trip to the corner grocery." Bettina fastened a trim percale apron over her traveling suit and swiftly and surely assembled the little meal. "I like that apron," said Bob. "It reminds me of the rainy day when we fixed the emergency shelf. That was fun." "Yes, and work too," said Bettina, "but I'm glad we did it. Do you remember how much I saved by getting things in dozen and half-dozen lots? And Mother showed me how much better it was to buy the larger sizes in bottle things, because in buying the smaller bottles, you must spend most of your money for the glass. Now that you have to pay my bills, Bob, you'll be glad that I know these things." "I think you know a great deal," said Bob admiringly. "Lots of girls can cook, but mighty few know how to be economical at the same time. It's great to be your—" "Dinner is served," Bettina interrupted. "It's a pick-up meal, but I'm hungry. Aren't you? And after this, sir, no more canned things." And Bob sat down to creamed tuna on toast strips, canned peas with butter sauce, rolls and butter, strawberry preserves, hot chocolate with marshmallows. And then each recipe gives a recipe for creamed tuna on toast, hot chocolate, and strawberry preserves. Those are not exactly like the ones that I showed you how to make in another video, but then it talks about different things that Bettina has on her emergency shelf. So she has 6 cans of pimentos, 6 cans of tuna, 6 cans of salmon, 6 cans of dried beef, 12 cans of corn, 12 cans of peas, 6 cans of string beans, 6 cans of lima beans, 6 cans of deviled ham, 6 cans of tomatoes, 6 pint jars of pickles, 6 pint jars of olives, 6 small cans of condensed milk, 6 boxes of sweet wafers, 1 box of salted codfish, 3 packages of marshmallows, 3 cans of mushrooms, and 2 packages of macaroni. And then, I mean, that's a thick book. And then it goes on and it just gives different chapters, and it goes through the first year of marriage of this little couple, Bettina and Bob. And so years ago, my daughter and I went through Bettina's recipes, and every night we would make a different meal. And I've got to tell you, first of all, the portions were way smaller than what we're used to. And so even though I doubled these recipes, I was feeding 5, so I wasn't just feeding 4, but I thought, we'll get away with that because Lindy and I don't eat that much. My daughter and I don't eat that much. That was not the case. Many nights when I fixed these recipes, we still had to go out to eat because my boys were teenagers at the time and there was not enough food. So it's funny how things have changed. So that portion size was much, much smaller. But anyway, it was a lot of fun and we really enjoyed it. But I hope that y'all enjoyed that little tidbit of reading from this book. I've read the whole thing, and it harkens back to the long ago days. Again, it was written in 1917, and some things, are very different, but some things aren't, and if you just boil down to the basics, we still want to do for people that we love so much. We want to do nice things for them and take care of them and take care of each other. And so it's a sweet book about doing just that and being economical. She talked about she wanted to get up in her mother's attic and get a hold of some of her discarded things so that she could make furniture for her new home. And that reminded me of when I first got married, and we didn't have money. We did not have money to go to Hatcher's Furniture like they wanted us to and buy furnishings or go to this Rochester store in New York and buy furniture. So we had to make do with what we had. And so we had lawn chairs for our table. We sat in lawn chairs and ate, and then our bedside tables were milk crates. I remember we had, are any of y'all familiar with Purity milk? Purity is from Tennessee, and used to, when you opened up the carton, it said, "Thanks, Purity lover." But anyway, we had Purity milk cartons stacked too high, milk crates, and I had the open sides out so that I could use it as bookshelves, and then we could put a lamp and then a clock on our little bedside tables, and we used those until we saved up the money. We didn't put anything on credit. That was a no. The only thing we've ever bought on credit or mortgage was homes, and so anyway, that's a big no to my husband. But all that to say, it's sweet to try to make do with what you have instead of going out and buying all new. And if you can afford that, have at it. But it's a sweet thing to be able to do that and not have debt, and instead just enjoy what you have, and because you're living on love, like that old was that Alan Jackson who sang that song? I think so. And that's what we did. We were living on love. We didn't have much, but we were proud of what we had. And so it's fun to think about things like that, especially in this wedding season, and in knowing that our son and daughter-in-law are going to be tying the knot this coming Saturday. So anyway, Thank y'all so very much for watching, and I appreciate all of your support and your sweet comments, and I can't wait to see you on the next video. Take good care. Bye-bye.